And we are live. Welcome to another episode of Axe of the Blood God, your independent RPG podcast, number one in the game, out here being the best. We have officially gone to SGF and defeated all other podcasts. That was part of that. You know, Keely likes to throw a little Thunderdome while we're all there in town, and we have defeated all other RPG podcasts. We are the greatest one. I'm Eric Van Allen, the victor of said bout. Naughty Oxford, how do you feel about our hard-won victory?
Oh, I didn't realize the cost of this podcast was blood, but I guess it is called Axe of the Blood God. It's not called Axe of the Cotton Candy God. Tell you right there.
Mm-hmm. Brendan Groom, how do you feel about the battles that were fought in LA?
I lend my sword at times. I watch from the sidelines, and let me tell you, Keely not happy at the amount of bloodshed.
Keely said, I want this to be a peaceful place. We say nay, because this is Axe the Blood God, an RPG podcast. And we take it one turn at a time, you know. That's how we win. Yeah, we were all out in LA this weekend for Summer Game Fest. If you can't tell from how destroyed my throat is right now, it was a loud event where we had to talk above the dull roar of many people and sometimes a really loud DJ at the Chime Bomb after party. As people now know that was a thing that happened. My cat has been yelling at me since I got back. He is upset that I was gone. You know, Poe doesn't like me being away for so long. Hey, Nadia, you know what I just realized we forgot to do?
Oh, what did we forget to do?
I want you to take a second and internalize what it is we forgot to do.
I'm sorry. We're really bad.
We forgot to set up the fucking recorder that records our audio that would turn this into a podcast and not just be us broadcasting on Twitch.
We forgot to say hi to Brendan. I'm like, oh, we're so terrible. I'm sorry, Brendan.
Hey, you want to open that app really quick? You want to pull that up?
That might be something we want.
You want me to pull that up?
We're sitting here like, look at us. We're the only podcast left, and we're not recording anything.
Don't Eric me. I'm the one who noticed. I'm the one who saved us from getting to the end of this podcast and being like, you know what we forgot to do? We forgot to record the podcast.
I don't even have Audacity open. I have nothing open.
I do not. I have nothing open. I was just sitting here like, it's kind of weird that I only hit vMix today, right?
What day is it today? June 15th.
We get a second run at the intro now.
We do. I'm
not taking the stream down, by the way. We're leaving this up. Everyone's gonna watch us. That's our shame.
Come on.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sending you the link. This is so stupid.
This is hilarious.
All right.
I had an image for this. I thought I had something for this.
This is what happens when Cat takes time off, says Harvest Lunatic.
I mean, yeah.
That's fair.
I thought I had the Simpsons technical difficulties thing for moments like this.
Which one? Dang. There's one with a puppy and the one with a drunk person.
The guy with the drinks, yeah.
That's so classic. Do I have Brendan? I know you have you, but I'm trying to find you here. What's your
Whitey baby? Come here.
Actually, I'll look.
B Groom.
Yeah, I think I have you here. Yeah, I gotcha. Da.
There you go. Who's your go, baby?
Let me open Audacity. Like the tech genius that I am.
Oh, you want your ears scritched? Or your ears itchy? I have the neediest cat in the world.
Yeah.
Look at him. He just wants attention. He's purring.
All right. Tell me when to hit record, Eric.
I'm not in it.
I know.
Oh God. Okay, How do I want to do this? I'm gonna punch out of the live thing, and then we're gonna come back. All right. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Welcome to Axe of the Blood God, an independent RPG podcast that gets it right the first time, every time. I'm Eric Van Allen, and we won the Great Battle of LA and have become the greatest RPG podcast on the scene. Nadia Oxford, how do you feel about our victory?
We're so good at this, we don't even have to record anymore. It's still a podcast, but we're not recording it. If you're not here live for Axe of the Blood God, you can just go to hell.
That's right,
We love
Poe.
you.
That's right, Poe. And that's right, Nadia. Brendan, how do you feel about the battle in LA that took place to have us emerge as the greatest RPG podcast?
I was there on the sidelines. I lent my sword a couple of different times when needed, and I will say I'm very happy with the victory. I think this is the best RPG podcast on the internet. But Keeley, I don't know. Keeley, not so happy with all the bloodshed.
You know, he knew what was coming when he invited us. You know, it was going to go down like that scene in Anchorman. That actually happens in real life when podcasts meet up, you know, and it just, sometimes you got to have it out, you know, just see what's what. And sometimes my cat, I leave him alone for a week and he gets like this, where I literally need to hold him like a baby so he won't yell at me. So that's what we're doing today on Axe of the Blood God. We went to Summer Game Fest. We saw a bunch of stuff there. We'll talk about that later in the show. But first off, Brendan Groom, friend of the show. You've been here before, but real quick, plug yourself. Talk about yourself.
Hi, I'm Brendan Groom. I host the Pass the Controller podcast and everything over at Pass the Controller. We cover everything, a lot of indie games. We make fun drinks to go with games, other crazy stuff. But you know, we're just hanging, we're just vibing. Big friends, big fans of Axe of the Blood God. Happy to be back. I think this is the first time I've now done the whole circuit. I've been on here with all three of you. I've been on here with just you and Kat, and I think this is the first time I've been on with just you and Nadia. So I think I've completed the trifecta.
Have you done a Cat Nadia without me?
No.
See, that's the next step.
Oh, okay, so
that's where we
that's
gotta
the
take
next
the
step.
final boss.
That's the final boss.
Yeah, no,
Someday.
I never thought of that, doing the full circuit of like appearances alongside everybody else. That's funny. How did you feel about Summer Game Fest, Brendan? You know, you went under Pass the Controller. What was the experience like for you? You also had an extra day where you went somewhere else. We'll talk about that too. That might be a good post-show topic, but
Yeah. It was good. I have some thoughts about SGF like itself. I think it's a very interesting event. I think there's definitely, from what it sounds like, this is my first time going in person. It sounds like every year so far they've iterated or at least tried to take feedback from people and try to make the show better. And like that's not just a showcase, but I think play days as well. I think some of how the show itself is orchestrated is still kind of messy. Like I think it's really spread out. It's I think hard to really maximize your time there, because when I was going through making my appointments, and if you don't want me to go like super inside baseball, just pull me out of it.
it's fine. There'll be someone that complains like they talk too much about the industry, but I don't really care about them. So you can talk about whatever you want.
What are you supposed to talk about? Go
Yeah,
on.
I think it's like, you know, you have to account for a lot of, not a lot, but there's a decent amount of stuff that was not actually there. So you have to account for, are you going to Xbox? Are you going to Ubisoft? Are you going to Square? Like all these things that kind of pull you off the campus, which I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff there that I didn't get to see because I was like, I have to pick and choose like what I actually can make time to do. And I think that's one of the bummers, because I think there's, like, I don't think there's too many things there to see. I just think there's not enough time. There's just too many things that all look really interesting. And like in that main campus area, there were a lot of cool indies and stuff that I wish I had more time to sit down and play, because I didn't. There was not enough time to play everything that was there. So, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's always about the people to me, and getting to see, you know, people like you and a lot of other, you know, mutual friends, and then a lot of people that don't normally make it out to the East Coast for events or stuff. So there was a lot of, you know, West Coast based people that I've never been able to see in person. So it was really nice to be able to come to their turf and stomp around with them.
Yeah, I don't get to see West Coast people very often. I wasn't at LA myself, but just thinking about how the time I was in LA for E3, RIP, and thinking about how spread out it must have been, like, LA is not a very pedestrian or transit-friendly city. How did you get around?
God.
Did you have to Uber everything, or were you able
Pretty much
to...
Uber everywhere, yeah.
Okay,
Wow.
I don't like to paint with a broad brush, but I do have to point this out just because it was so funny the way it happened. So the third day I was there, because I got in Wednesday and flew back Tuesday,
Right.
so I was there for pretty much a week. The third day I was there, I was going to the Ubisoft showcase, which was like down the street from our hotel. It was a lot of stuff was still centered around that like downtown LA near the convention center type stuff, even though SGF itself is like somewhere completely different. And then Xbox was out on like an island. It was wild.
An actual island?
Not an island, but it was just like a 30-minute drive away from most other stuff.
Okay.
But so we go to the Ubisoft showcase, or no, it wasn't even Ubisoft. I kept calling it Ubisoft, but because it was at the Magic Box, but it was IGN Live. That's where we went. That day we went to IGN Live. On the way back, my friend Louise, who lives in LA, was like, "I'll just take the train. It'll be fine." And everyone I've ever talked to told me, "Don't use public transit in LA. It'll get weird." And he was like, "Nah, don't worry. It's one stop. You're gonna be okay. It's chill." He gets on the train with other folks. I think Brendan, you were one of them, because y'all were going to the.
We went the other way. Yeah.
Yeah. So y'all go one way.
We went to the showcase, which the showcase on the train was a whole experience. But we continue your story.
So y'all go one way. I'm sitting there. My train gets delayed going back. I'm going one stop, like a couple blocks maybe. I probably could have walked it. But I was like, I'll go on the train. I bought the train pass. I'll go on the train. Louise, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's weird. I'm sitting on the train platform, and I watch someone walk from one end of the block to the other, just challenging random people to fist fights loudly, including small children. Like, walks up to this like mom and daughter and is like, "Let's go. You want to go? Let's fight. I want to fight." And I'm just like, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, I have the high ground because I'm on the train platform, so I feel confident right now. But it was comical, the degree of like nothing weird will happen, and then literally the second y'all get on that train and go the other direction, someone else comes through is like, "I want to fight. Let's go fight." And I'm just like, oh my god.
No, that was a promotion
the blood guy was there, so they wanted.
That was
to
a shadow promotion for Street Fighter 7.
Yeah, that was actually a red invading spirit for Elden Ring. Yeah.
About time someone fights small children, little bastards.
They won't let you do it in Fallout. You got to do it somewhere.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
What was your experience on the train going to the YouTube theater where the actual showcase was?
LA, and granted, this is like a very small snapshot. I was there for a few days. We were mostly at, things that were not out in public. But LA just gives me New York, flat, spread out New York vibes. So like it was like riding the subway for New York for me, where it was like there's just chaos on the train car, and
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Like
it's underground.
I'm from Boston, so like I understand some of the chaos. Like I'm used to some of that, so it wasn't like super jarring. But I think that it probably would have just made sense for us to Uber, because we ended up taking the train for I want to say it was probably at least like a 20-30 minute train ride, and then we still had to take a car to the show. So it was it was just like it's just not a convenient way to, I think, orchestrate this event. I feel like there's a better way to lay that event out.
Yeah, I think having it centralized at the convention center, for better or worse, did at least keep it centralized and make it like a little bit more within one area. Like I think my favorite show layout to this day is still PAX East, because everything is just on the seaport. And the seaport, it's fairly easy to walk to like food nearby. There's like a good CVS nearby. Like all the hotels are right there.
Even the hotels. Walk that bridge though.
Well, so only if you stay not on the seaport, which I will say if you don't stay on the seaport. Yeah. It's like a little bit more expensive, but also you end up saving on Ubers. So like I've done the math and it like kind of evens out if you do that.
That makes sense.
Granted, if you're like splitting Ubers and stuff like that, then you can save money. And then at that point you're like saving money to do that. So it's whatever your call is. But they have that new hotel there, the Omni, that I've been staying at the last couple PAX Easts. It's a really, really nice hotel. Very little privacy if you're trying to share it with somebody else. I don't know what it is with current hotel rooms where they're just like, I don't know, who wants privacy. No, it's how they construct the showers. It's the weirdest thing. Now, because this trip we had this again too,
so
where
bad. So
a distinctly unprivate. Okay, so I'm about to like pull out like MS Paint to show you what this looks like, but I'm not going to. But like basically, the construction of our hotel room for SGF that myself and friend of the show John Carson were sharing, we had kind of, you walk in and there's a sliding door on the left hand side. It kind of, you have two doors that can kind of do like that.
Yeah.
And then closest to the entrance is the small toilet stall. Just a toilet stall and like roll of toilet paper. And the other one is the shower room. And I always love the showers that feel like they were just built where there shouldn't have been a shower. Like you can tell like they just kind of like put it there and then just kind of put stuff in there that made it feel like it should be a shower there, but like they clearly just ran a hose in from the roof or whatever.
Garden hose.
And then You walk on the right hand side is where the sink was, and I think that was actually the thing I disliked the most. Was it felt like there was just no table space or sink space or anything in these hotel rooms, which is that bothers me. I like to have some space to put some stuff down.
Same.
And then you like walk across. It's like queen bed with like a little nightstand, a fairly small nightstand, and then two like desk things. I don't know, like they didn't feel like anything. They just felt like little like tiny cubbies almost, just little things there. I ate shit one night because my suitcase was all black and it was dark when we walked in, and I was not looking down, I was looking forward, and I just tripped over that suitcase and ate shit. Bruised all my knees and stuff.
I'm sorry, but that's funny as hell.
But the bathroom, okay, so first of all, the sliding glass door meant that it wasn't going to happen all the time, and frankly, because of the way we were handling this, it wasn't ever going to come up. But like, you could, if you were trying to get into the shower, open the door of the toilet pretty easily by accident. The real problem was that the way these things were lit, when you were inside, you could not see out. Like, I couldn't see anything out, but everyone out could see in. It was like a reverse one-way mirror.
Yes.
And there was also a giant mirror in like on opposite the toilet stall. So like if you were sitting on the bed and you looked over, you just got like full view of someone like shitting. And I was sitting there like, who invented this? Who did this?
Kinky room, Eric.
Our room was set up the same way, to the point where other member past the controller who was with me, Mike, we basically made an unspoken, we are not going to take a shit while we are here in the room together. Like,
go
to the lobby.
You just cannot. Yes, it was go to the lobby.
I did once when I thought that, but here's the thing. I did once when I was like, I'm the only one in this room. And then the whole time I'm like, it's like a sneaking mission where I'm like, I really hope Carson doesn't walk in, because if he opens this door, the first thing he's going to see is Eric shitting. Like, it's right there. It's direct eye line. Like, literally, the door handle is down here. So he's going to turn the handle and then crack the door and see crack right there. So it's
some engineer had a kink and they were expressing it and hoping someone else got something out of it.
They're clearly made either for solo travelers or like couples, is what I'm assuming. Like, that has to be it. I don't want to
see my husband on the toilet, I'll be honest with you.
That's the thing, yeah. Like, I also would not, like...
Married 23 years, I still want to see it.
Yeah, like there's just distinct lack of... Also, again, like, this room I've described, there's no, like, changing space, really. So I would get out of the shower, I would have, like, some clothes nearby, and I do what I call the camp shower change, which I don't know if y'all ever attended a summer camp or whatever like that, but it was always the thing of like, where do you change? Because there's no privacy at a summer camp, right? And so you would change like in a shower stall, and so I would get out of the shower stall, do a little hop over to the bathroom, and then get changed into my clothes for the day in there, which was always just strange. And then we'd have to kind of do that, and then whenever someone was doing that, the other person would either like roll over or something, or just like respect the privacy. We're all adults here, but it's still weird. You still feel like you're perceived even when you know that you're all adults there. So it's like, oh yeah, mods, someone said it's telling that like SGF, everyone's not talking about the games. There were a lot of games. I did play a lot of games. We can talk about those in a minute. There is one game we are going to talk about, and when I say we, I say myself and Kat Bailey. We have a missive from the show, Kat did get to see the hands-off presentation of Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Had a lot of thoughts about it. We ended up recording an additional segment to add on to this show that we're going to append here. For you watching the stream, this is going to look really strange. But yeah, there will be a segment here, and then we'll come back, and Kat will obviously hand it back off to me. Would not hand it back off to anybody else. Why would she do that? That'd just be strange. So we'll just do that, and then we'll be right back in a moment. Kat, why did you hand it back to Nadia? I had to do that joke once.
I did not get that.
Yeah, no, there's literally like when we recorded that in the hotel room, Kat signed off by saying, "And now take it away, Nadia." And I was sitting directly across from her, and I was like, "Why did you hand it back to Nadia? I'm going to be on this week." She was like, "Do you want to record it again?" And I was like, "No."
Sure.
No,
Let's
we're
do it.
gonna run this, and we're gonna have fun with this. So I had my fun with it. Yeah. So that is Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Sounds like it's going to be an interesting game, potentially divisive, but a showing that at least it's something for BioWare. I think that was kind of the general takeaway from a lot of people. I wanted to at least pose it to you, Nadia, and Brendan. We were talking a little bit before the show started. It seems like people are just happy that BioWare is making a game again because it's been such a long time. I don't know. Y'all are both like roughly BioWare fans. I feel like Nadia's a little bit cooler on BioWare, but Brendan, you're obviously a BioWare fan, right?
Yeah, I'm a big Mass Effect person. I played KOTOR 1 back in the day. I don't think I ever played the second game. But Dragon Age specifically, I think, has always sort of eluded me. So maybe this will be the first time. Who knows? Who's to say?
I don't know if it would be a good first time Dragon Age is the problem. And I feel like that was part of what they were trying to...
Inquisition? Or I was just saying, what would be the good jumping in point?
I feel like the two answers that make the most sense are either a complete understanding of the series, which would be starting with Origins and playing up through all the games. So Origins, you can probably skip Awakening. I don't think it's that crucial, honestly. It doesn't introduce some characters, and I think the story is kind of interesting. It's not the strongest part of Dragon Age, I would say. But it's interesting. And then 2, I like 2 a lot. I think 2 is very good, even though it has a lot of problems. I think it has some really great ideas. And then Inquisition, and then Veilguard. But a lot of people have also been saying, like, that's a lot of RPG to play. That is a lot of RPG to play. I know. I played it recently for Normandy. So I would say, like, the abridged version would be starting with Inquisition, which I do think does a good job of, like, catching you up on the world of Dragon Age, and then carry it forward into Veilguard. So
I might do that. Yeah.
Is Dragon Age like all contiguous, or is it more like Final Fantasy, where it's like it takes place in this world that has these rules you're familiar with, but it's all separate stories for the most part?
I think the best comparison point would be probably its most direct inspiration, which is the like Forgotten Realms D&D stuff. So like it all kind of takes place within the same universe, but the main character changes, the villains change, companions change. Some stuff does carry over, and I think that's kind of always been a point of contention. I know Ken Shepard, friend of the show, has some issues with Dragon Age, largely based around the way they kind of want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to have that sort of continuity of Mass Effect, but then also be an anthology series that's less connected. So I think moving into this game, the shift to Veilguard is not just them trying to maybe leave some of the Solus pinning behind, because that was the big thing, was like Solus is the Dreadwolf, he's Fed Harel. Spoilers for Inquisition, but like they're out there just like blasting it like he is the villain, he's the bad guy of this game, and that was all they kind of had for years. That was all they kind of said for years, was just like, here's a picture of Solus, you're gonna fight him eventually, see you next year. And I think Veilguard gives them an opportunity to kind of not just move past Solus, but also put emphasis on the continuity, the characters, the people you're playing with. They've shown the companions. The only carryover that exists so far is Scout Harding from Inquisition, who was a non-party member, like kind of this NPC that you would interact with a lot in Inquisition, but is now like a fully part of your team party member in this one. So I'm curious. I'm curious to see how it turns out because we are in a post Baldur's Gate 3 world, and I feel like comparisons to it are going to be inevitable. I don't know if that's fair. Like, I don't know if that's a fair comparison when it seems like the two are trying to do very different things, but they are both going to be high fantasy RPGs with a big production budget and lots of like talking and dialogue and companions and all that. Like, there are a lot of threads between them that I think the comparisons will be inevitable, and it's going to be tough because like Larian killed it, and where Larian was kind of building up on its legacy year over year and building that resume, so to speak. BioWare was stuck in a lot of problems. This game was in development turmoil for years. I mean, there are whole articles written about it and stuff like that. The reboots that it went through, like the internal shifts that happened, people leaving the company. A lot happened during the development of Dragon Age: The Veilguard, and so I feel like it's not just a big moment for BioWare to prove itself. It's also like it needs to kind of stick the landing to make BioWare feel a little bit safe in the current climate. So I hope it turns out well. Any other stuff that we want to talk about from SGF? I mean, we talked a little bit on the previous episode about stuff we had played, but I'm curious, Brendan, what jumped out at you that you played from SGF?
Sticking with RPGs specifically, or
I mean, we can talk about anything. I feel like we do have a general interest in just games on here, and I know I have at least one that's not an RPG that I want to talk about because I think people who listen to the show will like it. So,
yeah. Well, then I'll just quickly throw my hat in the ring for famously not an RPG, Super Monkey Ball. Oh no, I forget what the name of the new one is. Banana
Rumble,
yeah, something with Banana Rumble. Yes. Fantastic. If you're a Monkey Ball fan, I think it is like the best Monkey Ball has been in a long time. So I
motion sick.
I can see. Well, yeah. It would have made you even more motion sick at SGF because I think another common complaint from a lot of people was the TVs were massive at most of the stations and you were so close to them, and it was just like, what are we doing here? Like we're all just like, I guess I'll had my head on a swivel all day. But Monkey Ball was fantastic. It was delightful. If you have been a little sour, if you're a Monkey Ball fan and you've been soured on how the last few games may have been, I think you'll be happy with what they've done with this one in terms of just, I think looking at what made Monkey Ball good in the beginning, the things that they tried to do in subsequent games that maybe didn't work so well, finding that middle, and then also adding mechanics and stuff that I think work really well in Monkey Ball gameplay. Hello, Poe. What was Poe's favorite SGF moment?
Poe's favorite SGF moment was every time a cat showed up on screen. He was very happy about that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
His favorite moment was when Eric came back home.
Yeah. Oh, look at him. He's so happy. Don't knock my coffee over, you little shit. God.
Did you get a chance to play Hyper Light Breaker while you were there, Eric?
I did not. Tell me, did you play it?
I did play it, yeah.
Yeah, tell me about it. I'm curious.
It's fantastic. I really liked Hyper Light Drifter, and
me too.
I don't think I never finished it when it initially came out. So knowing that I was going to be seeing Breaker, I was like, well, let me prioritize actually finishing this game because I did like it for what I played. So I beat Drifter a few weeks ago just to get kind of ready for SGF, and Breaker's fantastic. I mean, it's still in development. It's still, I think when it does come out, I don't think they announced when it's coming out, but when it does come out, it'll be in early access. So it'll still be, being tweaked and worked on. Mm-hmm. But the build that was there, I had a really good time with. I mean, it has some RPG elements into it, but it is a roguelike where you are dropped in. I think you have 5 lives every time, and every time you have like a goal of getting to a specific boss in that world, and you have to defeat that boss to, complete a run. But in order to do that, you need to beat all these other bosses within that world to get like keys to unlock the door to fight him, whatever. But it has, a lot of the stuff a lot of the visuals, obviously it's in 3D, it's not the same graphical style anymore, but a lot of the kind of the vibe of Drifter is like very, very apparent in Breaker. It's not, they explained to me like it's not a sequel and it's not the same characters, but it obviously takes place within that world. I want to say it's a prequel. I think it's before the events of Drifter, but it controls really well. A lot of the weapons are fun to use. There's a lot more variety. There's some returning weapons, like there are versions of the weapons that you had in that game. But it's very gear based because it's a roguelike, so you're getting different rarity levels and stuff. So you're getting a whole slew of things to use. There's a lot of interesting augments that you can get that allow you to, have different special moves that kind of open up the gameplay in various ways that I really enjoyed. And I think it has a lot of interesting elements that I think will be fun to play around with, and I think will kind of boost replayability with it being a roguelike nature. Every time you run out of all 5 of your lives, the world will reset completely. So it'll be like a different biome, different setup. So it has some interesting things that I think really lend itself to be played over and over again. And it's going to have co-op. The version at SGF did not have co-op playable, but it's going to have co-op, I think 3 people. And I think that would be just a really fun time to kind of mess around with a group of people. But I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to playing more of that game for sure.
Nice.
Heck yeah. One I want to shout out really quick. I talked a little bit about this before, but I want to say it again. UFO 50, absolute gem of a game. I cannot wait to play more of that. From Mossmouth and friends, the idea is so effective of like a retro compilation of a console that never existed. So it's kind of like tracing the history of UFO Soft, a company that is fictional, takes place in the 80s to 90s, and they did a really good job of like having developers kind of work within the bounds of that era, of each like console generation that would have been happening, the developments that would have been happening, but still having like modern game design sensibilities. Just really genuinely fun concepts for what making a game like that would look like now. And I really, really loved it. I also want to shout out Fatal Fury. We played some of that.
Oh, hell
yeah, it looks pretty cool.
I don't remember if there was an embargo on that one, but they also kind of just let us sit down and play it.
Yeah,
so,
I don't think there was.
Yeah. They were just like we just grabbed a spot because there was like an open thing, and they were like, yeah, just go play it, I guess. John Carson is in the chat saying no embargo on Fatal Fury. Thank you, John Carson. I will hold on my war with the state of Minneapolis tonight.
I spent a lot of time. John Carson and I, friend of the show, hello John. We spent a lot of time together at SGF because I feel like we had a lot of appointments and other things that sort of just lined up together. I also brought him in with me to Capcom, so we had like a whole 2-hour date, which was nice. So
can we talk about the big thing at Capcom? Is that talk aboutable now?
I don't know. I actually I have the embargo paper right behind me.
I know. Hold on. I'm pulling it up. This is like the thing about this year's SGF is there were so many embargoes, like more than I've ever seen at this show. It was kind of nuts. It is
June 12th embargo, so we're fine.
We're good.
Okay, yeah. Monster Hunter Wilds looks crazy good. Like really, really good.
Yeah.
I'm not a Monster Hunter sicko. I'm Monster Hunter curious. We talked about this on the pod a little bit, but I need to just say it again that like that showing was incredible. I'm like honestly floored by what they're doing with that game.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I'd put myself in the camp of. I don't think I'm allowed to say I'm a Monster Hunter sicko. I play Monster Hunter games, and usually once I get to like the credit roll, maybe I'll do a little bit after, but I'm not like grinding for all the weapons and all the armor sets and stuff. So I usually bounce off at some point. But the way and I feel like they've done a really great job from Worlds on, so Worlds Rise, and now what we're seeing with Wilds, iterating in the best ways possible. And I really liked Monster Hunter Rise. I think the biggest problem for Monster Hunter Rise was that it was a Switch game. I'm one of those people that like I can deal with how the Switch runs because I know, like, I expect that. Like, it's like I am going into those things knowing that it's going to be that way. I still think they did some impressive things on the Switch, and they were able to make that thing work. But I'm really excited for not just how beautiful Monster Hunter Wilds looked in that presentation, but how it seems like they've added so many just little quality of life things into this one. how it seems a lot more seamless. Like, I don't know how little loading there will be, but it seems like you're going to be just pretty much going from HQ into the world, and into that world you're not really loading into other map sections or whatever. And I think I don't think you could do this in Rise. I think one of the other things that's going to be new to Wilds is that if you finish a hunt, you can just stay you can just stay there. You don't have to go back. Like, so you can hunt more monsters, do other quests. Like, you can just stay there. And I really liked, because I always kind of hated when you finish, especially if you're playing multiplayer and like you have like 30 seconds to carve the boss and like all this stuff. It's like, no, I want to like linger and I want to explore more. Maybe I had 2 monsters fight and I want to go fight that other monster because maybe they're already damaged a little bit. So I like that option to do that.
And if you have like quests for stuff and you run into a monster in the wild and you just start like fight, like the entire shift of the notice board to be like, okay, there's stuff that you could be hunting for, and so if you're just running around and you run into a monster that you want to fight, you don't have to go back to the notice board and pick it up and then go back or anything like that. Like, you just hit the monster, and then your like assistant or whatever is like, oh cool, you're starting this one, cool, let's track that, and just follows it. Like, all of it just seems like very natural quality of life adjustments to Monster Hunter that make complete sense, and you just sit there and you're like, yeah, that would make it better. And it puts, what it does is like streamlines the entire thing into, you are going out to kill things and bring stuff back. And like, they take so many of the roadblocks and impediments out of the way and just put it all on that and say like, you're just doing the hunting and we're going to make it super easy to go out, hunt, and come back. I love that. I think that's so like the things they're doing are really impressive, but they're also in a way like simple because they are just streamlining the process in a way that has not been so streamlined in such a long time. And it makes so much sense for this game. So yeah, I'm completely bought in. I'm completely on board. And that's not even counting some of the stuff they're doing with like environmental monster hazards and stuff like that. Like the dune worm, just sitting in there, like going, like capturing the thing. Like doing all that kind of stuff. Like it's a visually impressive game too. I find that like a lot of Capcom stuff does look good. The RE engine is like just the best thing that they've made ever. Honestly, like the story of Capcom years from now will be like, yeah, they made the RE engine and then they had just banger after banger on it. And speaking of like the other game that was in there that I believe we can talk about now too is Kunitsugami. I'm probably going to write something about it at some point, but that feels like a cult classic in the making. That feels like a game that won't appeal to everyone, but will appeal to a few people who like the idea of, oh, it's an action RPG tower defense where you kind of have to like risk manage how you progress down this line and then defend your goddess and level up these character classes that you're recruiting villagers into and stuff like that. And it feels like a cult classic in the making. Like there will be people talking about it years from now, like, oh, did you ever play this game? It was really kind of neat. I'm really into just so much of what Capcom is doing right now. It's really impressive. I feel we also need to talk about Metaphor.
I was saving that one because that's like my big boy right there.
Yeah. So you also had this appointment. So we played, I'd say roughly an hour of Metaphor ReFantasio.
About, yeah.
Across 3 sections, like segments. They kind of had it cordoned out where like you play kind of what felt like the beginning of the game or close to the beginning of the game. You have like a section where you're kind of doing a dungeon and you have like one more party member and stuff like that. And then they had like a boss fight, like a real big story boss fight. So kind of, I mean, that's a very classic way to kind of break it up into smaller chunks for demos and all that. We had about like 20 minutes in each section to mess around. This game is stylish as hell. I know I said on last pod that like more stylish than, or it's Persona but stylish, and I know that sounds very funny, but let me clarify myself. It's stylish in a way that makes you go like, oh, a Persona, yeah, that looked nice, but like this is just, it's gorgeous. It's dripping art at every turn. Like even the menus just feel like you want to screenshot them and hang them on your wall. Like I am so captivated by how they just let the art team cook on this game in a way that it would feel like too much, except it's all too much, so it all works together into like this art maximalism that I love. How'd you feel about it, Bren?
I mean, I'll echo what you just said about how it is visually. Like, Persona 5 Royal is one of my favorite games of all time. I love that game, and I think they're so good about like sticking to a specific feel with how they want the game to look and sound. And I think that this very clearly like has elements that you would recognize from, you know, previous Atlas RPGs, but it does so much more with its own way. And obviously it's, you know, it's fantasy, so it's like but in itself it's already just like we're in a different, like it's just a different vibe for that reason. But like you're saying, the menus are just so over the top, but not in a bad way. And like I was trying to pick this apart while we were playing it, because I was just like, I love this so much. Like the world, especially when you're in like battles and stuff, is like there's just like sparkles in the air, which like they don't need to be there for any reason, but it just for some reason just highlights and like augments how stylish everything is going on around you. And there's just a little flourishes throughout every segment of movement, combat, menus that really just crank that knob until it falls off. Like it's just like there's just no room for them to not put extra stuff for that reason, and it just works. Like even to the point of I actually wanted to open up Persona 5 and see this, because I don't remember, or see if it's in Reload, because I don't remember it being there. But like even when you're in combat, and you know, similarly how the menu pops up over your character and it's like a floating thing over them, in Metaphor it is also like very slightly like kind of moving with your character. So it's like not it's not just sitting there, it's like kind of attached to your character in some way. And I think in most other games it would just be too much, but it just really works in this game, and it's really pleasing. Like I'm so excited to see how, because like when you make I forget what they call the bonds in the game.
I don't know. They just do like the handshake, and I kept joking that was like that's what happens at SGF every year when you like meet somebody for the first time. It just like zooms in, and you're like bond created and stuff like that.
It's so over the top in all the best ways, and I can't wait. I feel like that game is gonna generate so many memes and just so many like just great moments for it's so good.
I do find like it's kind of interesting that it looks so distinct, but also like there were moments where I was like, they definitely built this on the bones of Persona 5. Like there's a part where you're running and you can like run through the dungeon, and my character did the like come on thing that like Joker does all the time in Persona 5, and I was like, I clocked it immediately. I was like, oh yeah, that's the Joker run animation of like let's go and run and stuff like that. And like I think that's really cool, actually, that they have like used at least some amount of the work done on Persona to make something new, and that they have like masked it so incredibly well that like it's good development practice in my opinion, but also like it's cool to see that this team is obviously taking Persona and saying like, what can we do with this that feels different? And like the attacking in the field is like a major thing. I wrote a piece about like, yes, it is stylish, we all love the way this looks, but like the way they're doing the action parts outside of battle, where you can kind of run up to a trash mob and beat it up with like action RPG controls and just move on with your life, and not even go into battle at all, not do turn-based battle at all. And then if you want to actually fight something that's like a little bit sturdier at your level or above, you can do kind of like the attacks to build up almost like a stagger bar is what I kept calling it, and then initiate the squad strike. And if you've built that up, now you jump into turn-based and you have like basically a free turn, you have the advantage, kind of like you would in Persona. And it's so smart and it works so well. And also like the cut in where like it has their face come down and they do kind of like a combo on the enemy. And even like I changed classes, because in that dungeon section you do the bond and then you get the brawler class, and I changed classes and it changed my attack in the field, so I was punching with my fists instead of swinging the sword.
I didn't notice that,
and that was like a really neat touch. That was a really nice idea. I wonder
I
if
like
then,
that treat. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I wonder then if you like change to a ranged class, if you have like a ranged attack or something like that. I would be curious to test that, but yeah.
I even like the tree for like the different classes and stuff, where it like pulls up like the anatomy, and it's like different parts of your body.
T-poses. They do the like what is that? It's the man, is it Da Vinci who did that? The guy doing the poses like that? Yeah. But I said everyone's T-posing for dominance in the menus. But it was funny because the they're all kind of scattered all over the body, like where the jobs are, and the brawler is like right in the loins, like it's right down there. And I was like, yeah,
let's go.
I feel this
Iron
job.
loins.
There. I don't know how much you played around in the combat because I was not in my session alone. It was me, Cam Hawkins, Ken Shepard, and Luis. We all kind of just like rushed it and was like, we're gonna just tag team this appointment.
John Carson, I'm glad you're here for this. So John Carson tagged along for my appointment because we had Ubisoft stuff directly afterwards. We should talk about the Ubisoft stuff too. But I was like, oh, Carson, come on, I was making jokes with the PR. They're usually pretty chill about that. If you go up and you're very like, oh, this person just kind of wants to see what's up. It's not like, it wasn't embargoed. Like, people had already been posting their impressions and stuff. And I was like, Carson will stand behind me. He won't speak unless spoken to. He's very quiet.
We'll tie him outside if necessary.
But they had those big couches, right? They were kind of, not even couches. It was like a big kind of like pad with like kind of a backrest, and it was enough that like one person could sit very comfortably in it, or two people could get a little snugly in it,
Mm-hmm.
So Carson and I were a little snugly in that thing because I was like, you're not standing behind me, you're getting down here, let's go. And we were like sharing headphones because I was like, oh, listen to this music. I was passing it to him, and then we looked over. Carson also spilled his drink immediately upon sitting down. Can't take him anywhere.
It was a deep seat. It was a deep seat.
Yeah, you like sink into this thing. I kind of want to like ask them like, hey, where'd you get those? Like that, I could use that.
I won't expose them on the show, but somebody that we know did fall asleep during that point because the chair was so comfortable.
Okay, it's so comfy, and there's a point in the Metaphor demo where it's playing what I like to call Kingdom Hearts drowsy music, because Kingdom Hearts has some very like where it's like very like soothing, and you could easily like drift off to it. My mom used to joke that when my brother and I would play Kingdom Hearts, that was how she got a nap in, because like the music would always like lull her to sleep basically. There was a moment where I also was like, oh, sleepy, good, because we were also running on like 3 hours of sleep a night basically at that point for a week.
Tired.
Yeah, and they're
still
pumping us with
at this
caffeine
point.
And alcohol, so it's like
our bodies are like, I'm not built for this anymore. Anyways, all of this is happening, and I look over to the left, and there is a CNN camera crew recording an interview with Hoshino directly next to us while we're talking to like the bunny girl in Metaphor. Like, they're having this serious conversation on CNN about SGF and like, Metaphor ReFantasio, and me and John Carson are just snuggled together on the couch looking at pictures of bunny girls. And I was like, oh, my dad's gonna be so proud.
You hit the big time.
Finally, we're gawking on CNN. It's a good video game. Metaphor is like really a good video game. Yeah, like I feel.
When's it coming out again?
October, I believe, October 11th.
11th,
I think is the date. Yeah.
I don't know how much you played around in the combat, but like we were messing around trying to like see if we could figure out maybe some more mechanics or how other things function that maybe weren't supposed to be explained at that point. But
yeah,
there's an economy system in there. I don't know if you noticed on the top of the screen, there's like there's like 4
points.
like crystals things.
Yeah.
So we figured out ways to actually replenish those during battle.
You get one mores, that are basically weaknesses.
They're basically the one mores. So like I'm pretty sure if you hit weaknesses, it would replenish them. I think there was something else that maybe we discovered would also replenish them. So like it does seem like it has some interesting depth there as well that I think some of you would expect from SMT or Persona. So
I also Base Prefect in the chat says, I just hope they don't bring problematic ideas about relationships to the game. I didn't see any mention of like queer characters or anything, which would be the one, obviously from P5 and stuff that people would be concerned about. I didn't see any mention of that. I did see, so obviously they've said there's no relationships, like there's no romance in the game, which I think is a very smart choice, all things considered. I also just generally like that this story is kind of about maybe not too much older, but definitely seems like the characters are more in their like 20s at least. They're all kind of like, they're all employed, they're all doing stuff. They're not like high school students. And so they've kind of talked a little bit about how there is still a calendar system, and they have ideas about like managing time and traveling and stuff like that. And I feel like that's going to be a lot more interesting, and an interesting take on that sort of system, because that's what I kind of wrote in my preview at the end, was like, cool, we know the art's good, we know the combat's interesting and innovative for this system, but like the third piece of the Persona pie is the framework, like the management, the time decision making, the bonds and stuff like that. I didn't get a great sense of what that stuff looks like, so I am very curious about what that ultimately turns out to look like. I would hope that we, you know, get some more time with this game before it comes out, but if not, then like it'll just be cool to look forward to see what this looks like.
Yeah. I really like the party.
Party's great. Yeah.
I'm hopeful that these characters get to develop and breathe, because I like the party so far. I like them visually, and I just think there's a lot of cool dynamic like there could be a good dynamic between that group. And I am a sucker for like a fairy companion, so I'm like already all in.
Yeah, the little Gallica like hanging out with you.
Yeah.
She's cool.
Yeah.
Trying to think of other stuff that we could talk about. Did you play any of the Ubisoft stuff?
I was at the Assassin's Creed thing, but that was also hands off.
That was hands off. I'm pulling up.
I did not play Star Wars.
Yeah, I was pulling up my big list of embargoes to see if I can talk about that one.
Big list of embargoes.
It is really almost silly the way that like there are so many embargoes this year.
While you're doing that, I'll just quickly mention I played a game called Arranger, which its subtitle is a role puzzling adventure. Yeah. I really liked it. I was one of the few people who finished the demo, because it is kind of challenging at points. But it's basically a puzzle game where you slide the tiles that you're standing on around to move, and the way that the world is connected and the way that you solve puzzles, I think, is really smart and works really well. And I think the game does a really good job of sort of tutorializing itself without putting up too many menus. It's just kind of like you figure out how the tiles move and you figure out how to solve puzzles. And I really liked my time with it. And that's like a Brendan-ass game. Like I'm very excited for that one to come out. So,
I saw you at the Devolver booth with your cowboy hat on, never escaping the allegations.
Listen, never escaping the allegations. They also had just free-flowing blood orange margaritas.
They did.
So like
I had a non-alcoholic version of it one day because I was like destroyed. I think I have like a little Volvi cup. They didn't have like the big margarita glasses anymore by the time I got there, but I have a little orange cup that I like a lot. Brendan is getting the prop.
My Volvi cup. This did not survive my suitcase. Got a big crack in the back.
Oh no!
It'll live on my shelf. It's okay. I have two. I put them in two different bags, hoping that one of them will survive, and one did. So I have one that I'll make drinks in, and one that'll sit on my shelf and remind me of the good times.
Lance Hart, building relationships. I talked about it on the Giant Bomb show, and I think on here, but I will say again, that demo is on Steam right now. You should all go play it. It is so much fun. It is ridiculously fun. It's a short hike, but you're an extremely eligible building that wants to hang out with other single and available buildings. It's a lot of building-based puns. So, like, Millie, the windmill that would step on you, if you asked. And then, like, I love the polycule of treasure chests, all named different, like, chest puns, like Chester and stuff like that. And they're all kind of in a polycule, but they're dealing with, like, relationship drama, and you're kind of helping them, and they also give you, like, powers and stuff like that. You go fishing for cars. It's really, like, it's so much fun, and it's, like, the best writing I've seen in a game in some time, and it's also just, like, fun sounds reductive, because I think that is like a fairly reductive thing, but I feel like I can feel the joy from the creator playing the game, and that's really something to say, because I also played Star Wars Outlaws. I just want to talk about it briefly. That's a video game. That's a video game-ass video game. It is a third-person action adventure platforming that honestly doesn't feel great. I'm gonna just let you know now. It's Uncharted in all the ways that you can be Uncharted. I felt like I was playing that game, and it was cool to see like some Star Wars stuff in that respect. I like some of like the scoundrel ideas and being, a Han Solo type character. I think that game is better when you're just going guns blazing and you're like picking up stormtrooper blasters and you're doing the whole thing where you're like fighting through a Star Destroyer and you're talking to the cons, like, get the door open and stuff like that. It's like, oh, they're swarming us and all that. I'm like the stealth feels pretty bad, I'm gonna say. Like, in a game where like stealth is at least encouraged, it feels kind of goofy at times. And doesn't really feel natural to do, which felt especially strange coming from, I just come from the appointment where I saw Hands Off of AC Shadows, and that at least has like good stealth. Obviously it's a like more stealth oriented series, but like, yeah, Outlaws really feels like it was just Ubisoft's attempt to make an Uncharted, and feels a little late to the party in a lot of ways, and maybe the Star Wars fans get more out of it because it's a way to see that world and those places. I do think that is a really appealing part. There was a part near the end of the demo where we got to kind of wander around this like Star Wars city, and I really enjoyed that because it was like you got to see things happening, you could play like mini games and stuff like that. It felt like a very lived world, and I could see a lot of the appeal there. But I think the second you start doing like video game ass things in that, like, it starts to falter, and that was kind of a bummer. I was hoping it was going to surprise me. I heard varying degrees. Like, some people really liked it, some people did not like it at all, and I found myself kind of in the middle where I was like, it's like fine. Like, I don't think it's bad. I just don't know that it like won me over in a way. Even AC Shadows was kind of shaky. I think like Noway's stuff looked cool with doing like stealth and all that. I don't know if the Yasuke stuff with like just running around and hitting dudes is gonna appeal to me as much, because that kind of like, it didn't feel like they gave him an identity in that action, because he's supposed to be big and like powerful, and he like hits stuff really hard and breaks through walls, and then all of a sudden he gets really fast. Like, he has moves where he kind of does like stops with his sword and then does like the quick draw, but like dashes forward while he's doing it to like slash somebody, and that feels like strange for somebody who's like supposed to be big and hulking to then suddenly like dash like that. Like, if the Incredible Hulk could do like Nightcrawler dashes, it was a little weird.
Oh gosh.
And it just kind of made that game. I'll probably play that one because I do like Assassin's Creed a lot, and I think some of the chemistry between those leads works really, really well. Like, the people they got to voice Yasuke and Naoe were clearly having fun with it, having a good time, and some of the story seems interesting there. A lot of the theming, obviously, like feudal Japan, is really exciting, but like I don't know that the gameplay really sold me, because Assassin's Creed gameplay has had a hard time selling me lately. It feels like they're kind of just doing Assassin's Creed over, and now they're just kind of saying like, fine, we know that there's two styles of Assassin's Creed, so we put them both in this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yasuke is like AC Odyssey, AC Valhalla, and then Naoe is like classic. Yeah, and so I'm trying to think. There was like a few other games that I did really enjoy. I can say, because of embargo weirdness, one of the games I did play, and that we will have an interview for here on Axe the Blood God, is SteamWorld Heist 2. I cannot get into details about SteamWorld Heist 2 right now, but we will have gameplay impressions, kind of like a stop and chat about this, where I'll just kind of like talk into a mic a little bit about how I felt about the gameplay. And then we also have like a 15-minute chat with one of the leads over there that was really interesting, got some really good answers about the design behind SteamWorld Heist 2, like the intention, why they went back to Heist 2, how they wanted to evolve it, what parts they wanted to keep the same, why ricocheting bullets are so cool. They are really cool, and you can still do that in SteamWorld Heist 2. But I can say broadly, I believe under the embargo restrictions, they were very... This was another one where it was weird, but that game good. The
original was freaking incredible.
I sat down for an hour-long appointment with an interview at the end, and I literally sat down, started playing, and it felt like highway hypnosis, where like someone came over like, by the way, you have like 5 minutes left. And I was like, what? And I looked at my phone, and 45 minutes had gone by like that. So yes, be excited for that. Look forward to that. We also there's some other stuff that is embargoed that we'll be rolling out from our coverage. Something that I played with John Carson that I can't talk about yet, but will be fun, and we have a little segment together talking about it. That's going to be a good time. And then also another game that was in the Xbox Showcase, a third-party game from the Xbox Showcase. I got to play it and then had a sit down with the creative director for like 30 minutes. They gave me like a pretty generous time with this person, and we had a really interesting discussion about not just the game, but also like the design in that space, crossovers between genres. It is very RPG adjacent. It was a really cool conversation. They also got one of the funniest ones they could have gotten out of the listener bucket. Also, the travelogue / question bucket is on the way. I have literally probably something like 6 hours of audio footage. Audio footage, I don't think that's what you call it. Anyway, I have audio recordings to kind of like sort through, edit, make sure they sound good. They are going to sound like you're at a live event. There's no way of avoiding that, and I assume y'all want, you know, kind of the ambiance. But I was using a like handheld recorder for the first day, and some of those I was worried about how they were coming out, so I started using my phone for the rest of them, and those I think come out a little bit more naturally. So we'll see how it shakes out. I'll do some audition magic to kind of try and make everything sound good, but yeah, a lot of stuff coming out of that too. That should be a good time. So look forward to all of our content moving forward. And again, I do want to shout out so many good indies at SGF. I do think that was the takeaway, is I was like, there's some AAAs here that I'm pretty excited about. We didn't talk about Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Whole lot of Gokus in that boy. You can fit so many Gokus in that boy. But I think the indies,
Gokus.
I think the indies were what I walked away like most impressed by. Like UFO 50, Phoenix Springs, which is like a detective game that's really, really cool.
That looks fun.
Yeah, While Waiting was really fun, about games you play while waiting. Just a lot of like genuinely interesting, enjoyable indies coming out of this. And if you haven't watched the Day of the Dev showcase yet, like it is wall-to-wall bangers in that showcase. Yeah. So I really do think the indies are gonna carry this year for us.
Did you get to play Blumhouse while you were there?
I did not get to play the Blumhouse stuff, and I was so sad because it looked really, really good.
Yeah, I don't know if it's under embargo, so I'll just be vague about it.
Blumhouse good.
I think they only had one game there. At least I only played one. Fear of the Spotlight, I believe, was the name of it. Yeah, I believe that's the first one that's coming out.
Because it was a game that came out, and then they got support from Blumhouse to like kind of make a better version of their game, is my understanding.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah.
I will say just broadly, I think the Blumhouse stuff, even though I don't like horror at all, I think the idea, the goal, the seeming mission of what Blumhouse Games is trying to do with horror games specifically, I think is really smart. And I think people who are into that genre, just based off playing their first game, should be excited. I think they're going to allow creators in that space to make the thing they want to make, and I think give backing and support to small studios to go wild. And I think that it's gonna result in some cool stuff. The Fear of the Spotlight was...
We're good embargo-wise on it, by the way. Yeah.
Okay. We are... They were very evocative of like a very specific era of horror. It's very vibey. I'll echo what... Because I had done the demo next to Kenneth Shepard, friend of the show. His main takeaway, or one of his main takeaways after, was, it's too short. Like, I wanted to see more. As it was started to ramp up, it pulls it away. And I felt the same way walking away. I was like, this was getting really interesting, and now you're stopping me, and I'm mad at you because I want to see where this is going. So I'm intrigued to see that one. I think is on like a better entry level horror, so I think I could probably get through that no problem. But it was really cool. It was interesting. I'm intrigued to see what else they do.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about Blumhouse is that, like you said, it's this big company entering the gaming space, and they so easily could have just tossed cash at an Ubisoft or an Electronic Arts and gotten like a big prestige game out of it, but that they entered and kind of picked up Fear the Spotlight. They picked up, there's a project from Sam Barlow's team that they're working on. There's a bunch of like indie horror devs picked, hand-selected, feels very representative of what people in the horror space like. A lot of the things that
doing the new Five Nights at Freddy's, the Pixel one, or was that someone else?
I think
They did the movies.
Blumhouse.
I don't know.
Blumhouse is
Yeah.
doing the movies
did the
of Five Nights
movies.
at Freddy's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I don't know if they're
the
working
game-
on that one. No.
I like the sprite work on that one. That was really nice. Remind me of Paul Robertson stuff.
But like the fact that they entered the space clearly talked to people who understood the space and are supporting things within the space and not trying to like box, shove their way in and be like, we're here, but like kind of trying to enter it naturally and organically and support people who are already here doing the work is like really promising. It's the same approach that you saw from like Devolver, from Annapurna, from Fellow Traveler, from Yeezbrid, like all these indie publishers that have grown over the years and built up a pretty good catalog by just like supporting the work that was already happening, and they're just backing it. They're just giving it the cash it needs to like not be another game on Steam, but have some backing, some marketing, some support, and that's really exciting to see. It's ideally what I would like for all indie publishers is to just see that kind of approach. So yeah, it's really cool. Outer Sloth is also like a big one too. Sam Barlow's dev team is working with someone famous, right? I think it's Cronenberg. I think they're working with Cronenberg on their next thing. I would double check that.
Forget.
But I'm pretty sure that's right.
It was someone else that was well known. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was a really exciting SGF for those reasons. It's a really exciting thing to see so many games show up and surprise you. And that was kind of my takeaway, was like, I knew what the big stuff was going in, and that was fine. But even just seeing like Clair Obscur Expeditions 33, having never heard of that game before, and being like, oh, it's like a Western turn-based JRPG style RPG. That's interesting and neat and cool. And they got like, I think it's Ben Starr and Jennifer English to do voice acting, so I'm like immediately sold off that. Yeah, a lot of really exciting stuff coming out of SGF. Nadia, for you at home, what was kind of your biggest takeaway from the event?
It was the event itself was kind of like,
quick clarification, It is Cronenberg's son and not Cronenberg.
There we are.
The younger Cronenberg. Okay, go ahead.
I feel like it's not over yet because we haven't had the Nintendo Direct. And I know that Mega Man fans are desperate for a new Mega Man game. I see you all out there, especially you, Lance Hart. I'm not giving up hope until we see the Direct. We just got a whole bunch of the Mega Man Game Boy games on Nintendo Online, so could be a sign that something's going to drop. We don't know, but I'm keeping the faith for now. As for the rest of it, it looks like I'm looking forward to 2025 now. At least there's a lot of stuff that I can just kind of look at and say, yeah, that looks great. I have to say, I don't know if you guys saw if you guys got to play Visions of Mana. Was that on the floor at all? Because that looks really had a great trailer.
It was not on the floor, but I got to play it back at PAX. And it was a good time at PAX.
Yeah, it looks like they really like if it's shining it up, looks like it's going to be like a really pretty tight experience. Looking forward to it. I think there's the pre-order. You can get a Flanny plush, which is awesome, but way too expensive. Yeah,
that's all we want.
I kind of wish I was there, but what are you going to do?
We'll find a way to get you next year. I think like next year is going to be a really big SGF.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of in survival mode this year, so.
For a generally it is a little bit of a quieter summer event, but
absolutely.
There was still I know Microsoft really brought out everything they have. They're like, okay, this is our last chance.
Yeah.
So
we're sorry.
We're sorry. So please wait until 2025. We swear to God we'll make it better. So I'll give you 2025, Microsoft. You convinced me. That Fable does look great.
Hey, Sony had stuff. Sony had Astrobot. Never count out Astrobot. Yeah.
I'm hearing really good things about Astrobot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Astrobot. All right, that's going to do it for our SGF segment. Now for a series of random encounters. Visions of Mana, speaking of, coming out this August. Exciting time. August 29th for PlayStation 5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, and PC via Windows and Steam. It will not be coming to Game Pass, despite earlier confusion. Final Fantasy XIV had a live letter, and big news, you have a new feature in Dawn Trail that will let you hide player characters around a quest-giving NPC.
God, I can't find it.
That's pretty handy, I gotta say.
I love to, when that happens, when you have like a new patch and you have everyone swarming around the quest-giving NPC, I always take like a close-up and I just like put like, Mom, pick me up, I'm scared, because it's just such a chaotic-looking bundle of people.
The rumored Final Fantasy Tactics remaster is reportedly real, according to Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, who replied to a comment thread caught up in all that leaker drama that happened in the post-SGF mess. You know, we always got to kind of have the FGC calls it Blow Up Tuesday, God. So we had a little Blow Up Tuesday. A little Blow Up Tuesday in the scene. Yeah. But amidst all the stuff, and I mean, the Tactics thing was in the infamous at this point NVIDIA leak from ages ago, and Tactics and the 9 remake are kind of the two things that still have not surfaced from that. Jason Schreier hopped onto Reddit with his own account and said the Final Fantasy Tactics remaster is real and happening, and Jason's usually on the money about this stuff, so I would put some weight on this.
Probably true.
One I'm very excited about.
Yeah, this is like Little Domino, Big Domino. It's like little Domino is a certain leaker who we'll respect. We won't put their name out, but a certain leaker is revealed to be somebody else, and then Big Domino, the Final Fantasy Tactics remaster, is coming out. Elden Ring is getting an update ahead of Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, which is very soon, by the way. That's coming up real fast. Yeah. Make sure you go and beat Moog. Have fun with that. Nihil. The base game is getting some new hairdos and other quality of life improvements, which is pretty nice to see. I think they have also bumped up the system requirements, so maybe pay attention to that. Also, PC Gamer had a report on the canceled standalone Disco Elysium spin-off, follow-up sort of thing. Basically, another report on all the turmoil that happened over at Zaum in the wake of Disco Elysium. Sounds like we could have gotten more Disco, and then obviously it all went to shit. So here we are. I've kind of made my peace with the fact that Disco Elysium, much like some of my other favorite games like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, will kind of just exist alone in a vacuum forever, and any attempt to try and recapture Lightning twice will just get you zapped. So make your peace with that, fellow friends.
F in chat.
Yeah, F's in chat. I'm sorry, I'm looking. There's drama happening in the chat too. It's funny. Anyways, we're now rolling into the tavern. And Nadia, what have you been playing lately?
I finished Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door. The remake was excellent. Really great piece of work. Eric, have you gotten to play it at all?
No, I really do want to sit down and play it because people. Yeah, I've been told this is a game I would specifically love. I don't know if I want to. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I want to stream it because I love streaming the games for y'all. I love playing games on stream. However, it means that I have to wait every time that I want to play more. I wanted to play more Final Fantasy VI so bad, and I've had to wait to play more Final Fantasy VI. So there are some games that I'm going to play in the future. You might even hear me talk about one of them in the travel log for SGF with one Rebecca Valentine. That might give you a hint at what game I talk about. But I might play that one off stream because I want to just experience it at my own pace. As much as I love sharing the experience with y'all, sometimes you want to play a game when you can play a game. So
no, absolutely. And this is one that I think it's a good enough game that I would personally want you to experience it like in as fun and as comfortable a way as possible, because every line in that game is just brilliant. It's I'm actually doing a lot of the post game stuff now. There's some extra post game stuff. I don't know if the art guides are in the original, but there are some really nice concept art and stuff that I'm unlocking as I search for all the stuff. Brendan, are you a Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door person?
I love all Mario RPGs. Mario RPG OG is one of my favorite games.
Excellent.
Thousand Year Door I am also playing right now. I'm still very early, but I am excited to revisit it because I played it when it came out, and I feel like I don't remember a lot about the game, so it's like kind of getting to re-experience it again.
I forgot it, a lot of it, which was really nice.
It is, like, I think in my mind, before this coming out again, I was like, I don't know if Thousand Year Door is actually my favorite, like, Paper Mario game. You know, it's the favorite out there, but is it actually mine? And now that I'm playing it, I'm like, damn, this might actually be the best one. It's so good.
Yeah, I think it is. It is definitely my favorite of the Mario RPGs. So playing that, I actually just downloaded SMT5 for the PS5. I didn't finish it on Switch, and I really want to have that like kind of performance bump as well, the extra stuff. I was kind of debating between that and the new Monster Hunter games for PS4/5.
Oh, Stories, yeah.
Stories, yeah. Because I adore Stories. Like, Stories 2 is great, and I wouldn't mind replaying it again, but I don't think there's enough new stuff to really justify it just yet. So maybe I'll wait till it's on sale, because Capcom stuff goes on sale a lot. And actually, it's funny because speaking of Monster Hunter, there's a Monster Hunter mobile game that I'm playing. Shoot, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but you play as like a bunch of Palicos who are opening a Palico village, and you have to match 3 to get a bunch of like equipment and stuff, and blah 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 blah. It's a huge gotcha ripoff game, like they all are, but it's still fun. It's cute. It's a good distraction, and it's a good reminder that my phone is dying and the battery gets as hot as hell every time I boot that game up.
Brendan, what have you been playing?
Aside from Paper Mario, I most recently, like I mentioned earlier, I finished Hyper Light Drifter because I had never finished it. But I guess I'll just, because Paper Mario has been like the thing I've been playing. So aside from that, recently I finished Duck Detective: The Secret Salami. I don't know if you.
Oh yeah.
How is that?
It's fun strange for what it is. I mean, there was actually some parts of it that had me scratching my head a little bit. Like, am I missing something? I really can't figure this out. But I enjoyed my time with it. It's a quick little game. It's funny at points. It has little puns in it. I enjoyed my time with it. If you're looking for like a very short, I think it's only take like maybe 3 or 4 hours. If you're looking for a short, like little whodunit type of mystery game, I liked it for what it was. I enjoyed my time with it.
Hell yeah. I haven't really had time to play much lately. Obviously, been traveling.
Yeah.
I forgot my Switch and Steam Deck at home.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I traveled.
What did you do?
I traveled video game-less, which was a mistake because I then I had the worst flight delays of my traveling career so far. I literally was supposed to leave Austin on like an 11 a.m. flight and get in at noon in LA. I ended up landing in LA at like 9 p.m. Okay, sudden pit, by the way. So my flight got delayed so many times that eventually I was like, okay, is there an alternate flight I can take out of Austin to get to LA? And they had one with a layover in Las Vegas that would get me there at like 7 p.m. Because it was literally like 11 a.m., delayed to 11:30, delayed to 12:30, delayed to 1:30, delayed to 7. And I was like, okay, at this point, I'm just getting a new flight.
Yeah.
And they were being nice about letting people kind of hop on different flights and stuff like that. So I took the one out to Vegas. And I get into Vegas and I'm like, okay, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I've got like a 30-minute layover, basically. I get on the new plane and I just pass out. I'm like sitting in one of those like 3-seat rows and I have like the window and there's nobody in the middle seat. So I just kind of like slant a little bit and just pass out. And I come to, and it was one of those like you fell asleep and you wake up, you don't know where you are. You're like, looking around, like what happened? Mickey Mouse voice, what happened?
Okay,
So,
what have you done?
I can't do that with my throat right now. And everyone is like getting up and getting off the plane. And so I'm like, oh, cool. Wow. I didn't even feel the plane take off. And I like get off the plane and I'm walking. I'm like, this doesn't look like LAX. And I look around, there's like slot machines everywhere. And I'm like, shit. And so I turned back around and everyone from my plane is like lined up. It's not, I'm in the embarrassing situation of, I don't know what just happened, but I don't want to be like, yeah, I was asleep and got off the plane and did not ask anybody about what happened. And so now I have to ask, but so I walk up to somebody in line. I was like, man, this is crazy, right? And they're like, yeah, can you believe they're deplaning us? I'm like, yeah, what a crazy thing. Like, why is that even happening? How could that even happen? And they're like, oh, it's because something's wrong with the plane. I'm like, yeah, I remember when they told me that.
I am part of this conversation.
I'm really good at bullshitting my way through a conversation to make myself not look like an idiot when I am, in fact, an idiot. So we're standing there in line, and everyone's waiting to talk to the like one desk person, like the one person working the desk.
A poor person.
And I just open my app, and so I'm at like gate like 38 or something, and it's like 38, 39, 40, like it's like a U shape basically.
Oh yeah.
And I look at the app and it's like, there's another flight. And people in the line are saying like, oh, I heard they're going to make us stay overnight. And we have to fly in at like 6 a.m. tomorrow and stuff like that. And I couldn't do that because I had an appointment like literally that morning. It was why I was flying out so early. And so I was like, I can't do that. And so I look at the app and it's like, there's one other flight departing in like 10 minutes. So I was like, okay, maybe I can make it. Maybe I can run through the airport. I look at it and I hit switch to it because I'm like, I'm going for this. It's like, please go to your gate 40. And and I look across, like literally just over that way, and it's a gate right there that's just like going to Los Angeles. And I was like,
nice.
I said nothing to anyone else in the line and just walked over and got on the plane. So that was my adventure. Don't forget your Switch at home is the lesson I learned. And also maybe don't gamble on flights all the time. But because of that, I didn't have a ton of time to play stuff. I did play the demo that's up on Next Fest right now for Demonschool. Very, very good. I know I've talked about it before on here, but Demonschool is quite good. I'm really liking what Necrosoft is doing with that game. Feels like a very smart evolution of tactics and stuff. I've been trying to get them on the pod. Hopefully we can get the devs on the pod to chat or something at some point. They weren't able to make it out to Summer Game Fest to do a chat there, but we would like to do something at some point, so I'm trying to figure out what that looks like. Yeah, I really, really like that game. I think it's really interesting and compelling. It's honestly in my like probably top 5 most anticipated games for the year. I really hope it lands. And it seems like from this pretty long demo they put out that it's coming together pretty well. I also bought an Amberneck SP. It's still on its way to me. It's not here yet. But multiple different people at SGF had this little device, and we're talking it up, and we're showing it off. And I got to play friend of the show, Jesse Vitelli's Amberneck SP for a little bit. I played some Symphony of the Night on it, and I was like, oh, this is really good. This is really nice. I've wanted like a standalone, because I have a Steam Deck for emulation if I want to like travel and stuff, but like Steam Deck big, Steam Deck large, hefty boy, can do a lot. Can really play a lot of stuff, but it's a big boy. Sometimes you want little boy, So I bought little boy, my little Amberneck SP that's going to travel with me, and I'm really looking forward to that because it seems really solid. A little SP form factor emulation machine, and pretty cheap too. So hopefully, it's like $60, $70 for like a little clamshell emulation machine that can do up through like Dreamcast, basically.
Wow. Pretty good.
Yeah. People are shouting out other stuff in here. I really have wanted kind of a standalone emulation, little box for a while, and I was bouncing between some ideas of like the Retroid Pocket and stuff like that. This was like the right form factor, the right price, the right console support, and all that. It was just everything formed a little delta. So I'm excited to get that and put all the video games that I own on it. All the video games that are in my library that I have physical copies that I can indeed touch and show to you if I choose to. I just choose not to because I don't want to brag, but like, they do exist. But that's going to do it for the tavern. Nadia, why don't you take us home?
Well, since this was kind of a shorter episode and we skipped a big segment of it, I started thinking about the best times we skipped school. And I have a very simple story where, for some reason, school in Southern Ontario, and I think most of Canada, goes till like the very end of June. And RIP to the kids out there, because springs are a little hotter now than they were when I was a kid, and we do not have air conditioning in most schools here, so great times. But it doesn't matter, because around the time June hits, everybody gives up. Like, usually after the Victoria Day weekend, which is usually like May 24th or so, everyone goes back to school. Nobody does anything. Nobody wants to do anything because it's warm out. It's the last semester. So one time I was just kind of sitting on a really, really nice day out in our schoolyard for recess. And my brother comes up to me, which is funny because he never really usually approached me in school. We didn't really talk to each other in school. We weren't cool enough for one another. And he says to me, "Hey, let's go to Canada's Wonderland." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah. It's skip the rest of the day and just go to Wonderland." It's like, okay. I mean, we both had seasons passes because I had a job and I bought mine. I used it a lot that summer. And we went to Canada's Wonderland instead of going to math or whatever the hell I was taking at the time. And that's why I have so many dreams about going to school and failing, not having my assignments ready.
I didn't do a lot of school skipping until I got to like high school, and then we would have like, if you had AP classes or like off periods, obviously were a thing, but like there would be days where you've done the AP exam, or like in band kind of ends after a certain point, or like you've done the concerts and all that, and you don't really need to like be around anymore. And so they would just have all these kids, and they'd be like, I don't know what to do with them. Go like practice or something. Because like, what do you're not gonna do anything for the end of the school year. So that's when I started, finding ways to get out pretty easily. But my favorite one was still, we had a sub one morning for an AP English class after we'd already taken the AP exam. So it was basically just like we didn't do anything. We just kind of hung out and talked. And even the subs knew this when they got that class. They were like, they don't have anything to do. There's no lesson to teach. Just like make sure they don't do anything stupid. It's basically babysitting. Yeah. So I walked up to the sub and I was just rolling the dice here. This story might surprise you if you hadn't just heard the one I talked about with me faking my way through the plane and all that. I was like, hey, can I go get breakfast burritos? And the sub looked at me and was like, what? And I was like, I have my car here. I can just like bounce out quick. They won't catch me. Like I do this a lot. I can, and I'll just like, I'll come back. But like me and my friends, my friend Summer was with me. We just want to go get breakfast burritos. And the sub just looks at me and says, bring enough back for the class and I'll let you do it.
Yeah.
So we went and bought a whole bunch of breakfast burritos and shared them with the class. We took orders and everything. It was great. Yeah. It was a good time. That sub ruled. But it was really, really fun. I don't know if that counts as like skipping or not. It was like somewhat sanctioned, but if we got caught, we would have been in trouble. So yeah.
How do you get caught? You take off.
Brendan, are you a school skipper?
Not really. I was like not that type of way. Senior year of high school would have been like the only thing of just similar, like we would just leave and go get food and either not come back or come back, when we felt like the right time to slip back in. But that was like the extent of it. It was never anything too elaborate. Not cool enough.
I did skip to see Tropic Thunder. That was a very that dates me pretty well, but
that does actually. Why did you skip? Why didn't you just go see it?
Oh, because it was fun. like my friend was just like, "Yo, let's go skip and see Tropic Thunder," and also like, I'm pretty sure we got in when we were like technically. I don't think I was 17 yet or something like that. I don't know. It was weird, but yeah, it was a good time. It's a good time. Tropic Thunder is not aged well. Let me tell you that much.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
We don't need to get into that here. That's going to do it for Axe of the Blood God this week. In what was a normal-sized episode, but also probably a lot longer once we stick the actual Dragon Age thing in. So thank you for hanging with us. Thank you for hanging out. Kat will return, and some of us will go away. It's kind of a weird summer where we're all kind of moving in and out.
Yeah.
One more time before we bounce, Brendan, where can the people find you and the stuff you do on the internet?
You can find me at BEGROOM on most social media places. And you can find everything we do. Just search Past the Controller on your podcast preferred place or go to pastthecontroller.io. Yeah, it's always a pleasure coming on here. I love chatting with y'all. Y'all are lovely people. So I appreciate the time coming on and hanging.
Heck yeah, and stay tuned for Blood God stuff. We've got our Pantheon coming up for Wizardry. It's going to be a good time. We've got the 4-job Fiesta, I believe. Is it Festa or Fiesta? I always call it Fiesta. The 4-job Fiesta is happening in the Discord as we speak. Tomorrow I'll be doing my next installment of the Esper Quest, the FF6 playthrough. And like I said, all that SGF stuff is also coming on the way too. We got a lot of stuff in the content pipeline coming up. Maybe even some new ideas. Kat Bailey and I maybe had a conversation in LA to talk about some new ideas that I think you might like. We'll be rolling those out at some point too. And obviously the charity stream is coming up too in July. We don't have a firm date for that, but just plan for July. Be ready for July. Not threateningly friendly parentheses. But for Nadia, for Bren, for myself, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time on Axe of the Blood God.